Welcome to the Tzorba Abanon Hilchot Shabbat Program with Rabbi Shalom Rosner. Tzorba is a revolutionary halacha sefer which guides you through over 300 topics in Jewish law in a unique signature style. In this weekly series specifically, Rabbi Shalom Rosner learns through the Tzurba Hilchot Shabbat volumes, helping us all master the Halachot of Shabbat in just 2 years. Tzorba volumes are available for purchase worldwide on Amazon. And to learn more about Tzorba, or for those in Eretz Yisrael looking to purchase volumes, please head over to tzorbaolami.com. For more information, see the description below. And now, Rabbi Shalom Rosner.
Okay, welcome back to the Tzurba Shiurim. We are in Hilchot Shabbos. We are in volume number 19 of the Lax Family Edition and the Aaron Family Volume. As we discussed, very important halachas relating to Hilchot Shabbos. We've done borer and tochein, lush, other food preparations. We're in the middle. We're in the middle of Shiur number 6 in this volume. We discussed last time issues of floor maintenance on Shabbos. And today we will discuss issues of hachana. But before we start, Baruch Hashem, we've been getting questions, and we'll be starting a section in these shiurim on questions that we receive from our listeners. Some of them will be from past shiurim, which is always good to chazer, to review, and some will be from the current shiurim, depending on what the questions are up to. So one of them, I'll list right now. Good morning, catching up on Tzurba shiurim. When I open a can of pickles or hearts of palm on Shabbos, if I break the bottom first, the liquid comes out. And we spoke about that. This is combining two shiurim that we've had. We discussed borer, and we've discussed opening packages and cans. So we discussed that the best thing can is an issue of opening, because I might be creating, maybe it's soser, maybe it's bonem, maybe it's creating something, maybe it's destroying something. We had a machlokas achronim. But either way, we said it's a good idea to cut the bottom of it, and in that way, one wouldn't be making a kli. But the problem is, if you do that over the sink, this questioner asks, the liquid comes out and leaves the pickles or hearts of palm behind. Is that a borer issue? Is it borer because I open the bottom, now it's going to drip out while I take out the pickles or the hearts of palm? So was I machmer in one area and makel in another area? And the answer is no. The answer is that there's no issue regarding borer there. We discussed then in the borer shiurim that there's not really the principle of psik resha that is automatically, if you do act A, which would vade cause act B, it will be a problem. That doesn't really apply to borer. But there's certain malachas that kavana is part of the essence of the malacha. So here, an essence of the malacha is kavana by borer. So here, your kavana, you just opened it from the top. It's happening memela. You're not separating. It's dripping out. And therefore, it would not be a problem in that case. Okay, that is the question that we had. And we have a couple of other questions regarding this week's shiur. But first, let's do this week's shiur, and then we will get into the questions that were sent in. So here we go. So today we're talking about hachana. We're on page 275. 275 in the Tzurba Meir Abanon shiurim. And we start with talking about these. This goes back to the days of the Mishnah and the Gemara. Washing dishes on Shabbos. So washing dishes. So you can't use hot water. That will be an issue of bishul b'Shabbos, right? If I turn on the hot water. And there's no issues we spoke about in borer, about there's no real ta'aroves of the food and the plate connected to each other. That's not something to worry about. But what about the issue of washing? Do you really need them? Do you really need these dishes washed? So that's discussed in Shabbos Kuf Yud Ches on page 275, source number 39. Here we go. Tana Rabbanan. Ka'aros sha'achol mehen arvis, pots and plates that you used Friday night. Madichin lechal v'meshachris. You could wash them Shabbos morning. You could wash them for Shabbos morning because you need them. Shachris madichin lechal b'hem b'tzarayim. B'tzarayim madichin lechol osav. If you ever need something for later in Shabbos, you are allowed to wash them, again, in the mutter way, without hot water and without being sochet, the squeezing out of the garments. But if you ever need it, you can wash them. If you're going to need it later on Shabbos. Mina mincha ve'elach shovena madiach. But if it's late in the day, let's say shalashudas, I use some utensils, you're going to need them the rest of Shabbos? No, you can't wash them. Avokosos, v'kitonios, v'tzlochios, but cups and bowls and things that the Gemara assumes that are always usable, you might use them in any second. Madiach v'holech kol hayom kulo lefi she'ein keva l'shtia, because there is no keva for shtia. So the Gemara tells us that any type of usage that is possible on Shabbos, then that's not called hachana. I'm allowed to do it. But if I don't need it, so that I'm not allowed to. What is the reason for this? So there's 2 or 3 reasons given about the problem of washing dishes on Shabbos. If you're not going to need them, the Rambam in Hilchot Shabbos and Berach Av Gimel tells us in source number 40, "Va'asur ladiach karos va'alfasin v'chayotze behen." Interesting lashon, mipnei shehu kimisakein. It's like you're fixing. Right now, the dishes are dirty and disgusting and not usable. When you wash them, you're making them usable. So it's not tikkun daraisa. You're not building, but kimisakein, it's like you're fixing. Ela imkeni dichan lecho b'mzud acheres bo'os haShabbat. Unless you need it. If you need it for later on, so if you need it, how does that solve the tikkun problem? Well, tikkun is only if you're fixing it for after. A little tzarchian, but that's the Rambam, that it's kimisakein. The Ravid there and most other Rishonim say that's not the reason for the Gemara. The reason for not being able to wash dishes unless you need it is because the issue of hachana. One is not allowed to prepare for on Shabbos, for after Shabbos. Shabbos is supposed to be a day of kilu kol malachlecha asuya. Everything's done. I'm not focusing on anything after Shabbos right now. The Ravid says there in Chav Gimel Zayin, Kol ze'eno asa elabedishu tarach l'chol. You're being torech for a weekday. You're not supposed to be torech for a weekday on Shabbos. Shabbos is supposed to be any torech you do for Shabbos, on Shabbos, okay. That's okay. But nothing more than that, and that's the pashup shot of most of Mefarshim. There is a concept, it's related, but in the footnotes you see the Aruch HaShulchan and others explain that maybe it's not just an issue of hachana, but being mechen for after Shabbos is a little zilzal of Shabbos. Focus on right now. Focus on what you're involved in. Right? If I'm at a shiur and my head is constantly thinking about what I'm going to do afterwards, so I'm not getting the experience. I'm not getting the most out of the shiur. Imagine you listen to a shiur and you're constantly on your phone, trying to arrange things for after the shiur. That's a zilzal for the person giving the shiur. Right? Focus on right now. So that's part of the issue of hachana for Shabbos, for after Shabbos, is part of the zilzal. Shabbos is supposed to be a creation of a day that is unlike any other day of the week. Remember the words of the Ramban. The Ramban in Parshas Emor, where we have where the Ramban discusses what exactly does it mean Shabboson. Shabboson. So that's where the word Shvus comes from. We spoke about this last year when we spoke about Isurei D'Rabbanan of Shabbos. Shvos from the word Shabboson. But the Ramban there says in Perach of Gimel of Parshas Emor that even though the Smag holds that Shvusim are D'Rabbanan, but we don't D'Oraisa, we don't hold Paskin that way. But says the Ramban, Venerally, Shamedrash Hazeh Lomar, the Medrash that says there's a concept of Shabboson is teaching me to creating a day of rest. Shenitztavinu minat Torah. When we say the concept of Shabbosdik, that's a Torah idea. That's not just like an extra legal halachic. No, that's a din. Lios lanu menucha biyantif and Shabbos afilu midvarim she'ena malacha, even from things that don't represent the malacha. Lo sheyitrach kol hayom limdod atvuos v'lishkol aperos. We shouldn't spend all day not violating any malacha, but being toreach, measuring tvua, weighing out fruit. V'amatanos olamali chaviyas yayin ulafanos hakelim. I'm gonna move around these bookcases and clean out my garage on Shabbos. Not gonna be any malacha done. That's not what you're supposed to do. That's not creating a day of Shabbos. And if the city had walled cities, says the Ramban, imagine without all these dinim d'Rabbanan, they'll load their donkeys, they'll do business, business as usual. Right, that's alluding to the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. V'ashulchanim al shulchanam, v'hazehuvim lifneihem, v'yupolim mashkim l'malachtam. It's a regular day of work, getting up early without violating any malacha. Umaskirin atzman b'chol edvar me'elu. V'hutru hayamim atovim me'elu v'afilu haShabbos atzma. And the days of Shabbos and Yom will be trampled on. Shebechol ze'ein be'em mishum malacha. L'chein amar haTorah Shabboson. Create a day of difference. Yom Shvisa umenucha lo Yom Torah. V'zeh pirish tov v'yafa. Says the Rabban, I like that one. It's his own shot. But I like that one. And that's part of the issue of hachana, preparing on Shabbos for after Shabbos. is something that is a zilzul of Shabbos, of Yantiv, of taking it away, and therefore we stay away. And that's what the Shulchan Aruch says. Shulchan Aruch says in Shin Chaf Gimel, Sivav, you have it there in source 42, Madichem Kilim L'Tzorach Hayom. What is allowed to wash dishes, L'Tzorach Hayom, for if you need that day. You ate Friday night, you want to use them Shabbos morning, right? There's no hachana from an earlier part of Shabbos to a later part of Shabbos. Only from Shabbos to after Shabbos is a problem. But after Shalosh Shudis, ein madichem, we don't wash the dishes, says the Shulchan Aruch. V'klei shtia, but if something that you might use, cups, madichem kol hayom, shekol hayom or l'shtia, anything can be used for shtia. That is the Shulchan Aruch. The Mr. Brewer there says, what if you're only two people and you have 8 cups that are dirty? It's still because any one of them can be used. So the Mishnah Berurah says you can even wash all the cups if one wants to. So one can you do it. Again, if it's earlier in the day and you know for sure that you won't need it, then it's just like Shalosh Shudis. It's just like later in the day, right? And therefore, and if you know it's later in the day, you think you're going to need it. So all of this, one has to use their head. What happens if I have dirty dishes. Let's say I had 4 people, we had Friday night. So I could just leave them dirty and use new dishes. I have a set of 12. So I don't have to wash these dishes. Can I wash the dishes? I don't want to take out new ones. I want to use these. I use these, and I'm going to use these again. I'd rather use these again rather than putting them and having 8 sets of dirty dishes after. Am I allowed to do that? So that's discussed by the Shevet HaLevi. Rav Rosner on page 277 discusses this. It says, Me'ikar adin, it's mutter. Me'ikar adin, look, you're going to wash these dishes because you want to use them. That's mutter. The fact that you have more in your cupboard, what does that have to do with this halacha? This halacha is, I'm washing the dishes because I want to use them. I'm able to not wash and use others, but me'ikar adin, it's mutter. But he says, Tavo alav bracha, if one doesn't do that. Again, we'll get to the in the sink in a few minutes. Be'ez Hashem. Be'inyan, source 44. Hashela, kshesh la'adam harbe kelim. Again, Rav Rosner, if you remember, was one of the last, if not the last Talmud from Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin, who learned there. So kshesh la'adam harbe kelim, if somebody has a lot of kelim, v'afi lo yidiach kelim b'leil Shabbos, he has a lot of utensils and plates and cups, and even if you don't wash them on Friday night, yilo kelim penuyim, l'tzorach shtei shudas acheros, you'll be able to have enough for the other 2 meals. Imutter b'chalzos l'hadiach hakelim misuda lisuda. Can you wash? Can you wash from one meal to another, knowing that even if you don't wash, you'll have enough? How do you know that it's aser? Make your adin is mutter. You're washing these for Shabbos. You can use these on the Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to wash them unless you can use them for Shabbos. You use them for Shabbos, no problem. The fact that you have more, make your adin, it is mutter. But says the Shevet HaLevi, ein ze yisod ha'gzeir b'kol makom yesh makom lahachmir. It's better to be machmir if one can. What about soaking dishes? Meaning, I use the chicken. I'm not going to wash it now, but I'm just going to fill it up with water because I don't want it to get. If I leave it and it's going to get dry, it's going to be much harder to wash after Shabbos. Is that preparing for after Shabbos? Soaking, is that preparing for after Shabbos? So that's an interesting discussion. The Shmiras Shabbos says, well, it depends. Is it already hardened and hard to get off, or you just want to prevent? Says the Shmiras Shabbos, if it's preventing, you just want to keep the status quo, that's not preparing. You're just doing something right now to keep the status quo, and therefore you can soak it. If it's already hardened, it's already 2 hours after, you already ate lunch, it's 2 hours after lunch, and now you see, the cholent pot. So now it's already dried. So the only reason you'd be putting water in now is to make it easier for after. That's not allowed. That's the Shmiras Shabbos' chiluk. Source 45. Gam kelim asher acharei hotzas hataf shel mehem. After you take out the cooked food, kayim chashash etidbeken hasherios bedofnei hakli. There's a chashash that the leftovers will stick to the inside of the kli. V'zeh yikshe alav esniku yakelim b'motzei Shabbos, and it's going to make it very hard for me to clean after Shabbos. Mutter l'shros amayim Shabbos. You're allowed to soak it there. Why? Ki ashriya zu ba'a rak limnoa shinui b'matzav hakayam. This soaking is just to prevent a change, to keep the status quo. We find even in serious contexts, Keeping the status quo is allowed. If I want to, if my light is on or my Shabbos clock is on, I want to extend it. I want to put down another couple of ticks. That's allowed. It's allowed to extend the status quo. I can't change the status quo earlier. I'm going to put down some clicks so it goes off earlier, goes on earlier. That's not allowed. That's gram kibui or gram hadlaka. But if it's to extend the status quo, that would be okay. So here too says the Shmir Shabbos, if the soaking is just to prevent a new status, that's okay. If it's already stuck, it's already dried, and what you want to do is to change it to make it better, so that usher, that would be usher. Interesting chiluk. Usher lishros akli b'mayim b'Shabbos kivan sheb'shriyazu machshavaso lahakel al nikui. Rabbi Shalom here in the Oral Etzion doesn't buy that chiluk. He thinks it's preparing, and either way you shouldn't do it. Because he quotes this chiluk of the Shmir Shabbos, and he does not think. He just thinks you'd be zahir not to do it. Okay, but one yishbakam lahakel, if it's once right after Shabbos, one wants to do that. The Tzitz Eliezer discusses what happens if you're in a situation where there's a reason you want to clean it for right now. There's a reason you want to clean it for right now. So his case is a more extreme case in terms of a hospital. The hospital doesn't want dirty dishes lying around with germs and hygiene. So could they wash? They're not going to use it. They're not going to use it this Shabbos. But right now they want to clean because right now there is a need not to have it piled up. So the Tzitz Eliezer says, yes, that is an immediate need. That's not preparing for after. That's for right now. You don't want it to be in this state. Tzitz Eliezer, source number 47. You have it on there, page 279. Nishalti mimashgiach beis hacholim bekan. I was asked by the head of the hospital. Im efshar Rebbe Tzitz Eliezer was the posek for Shari Tzedek. Shlomo Zalman was the posek for Shari Tzedek, and now Rav Asher Weiss is the posek for Shari Tzedek. So Nishalti was asked, Im efshar lahatir hadachas kli achila bebeis hacholim. Would I allow the washing of the kalim in the hospital la'achar gemar ha'aruchos b'Shabbos bayom, after the meals on Shabbos? Even though we're not going to use them again on Shabbos. The health ministry says it's not safe. It's not good. Not because you want to use them after. Hygiene. The centurium she'en lahashir bebeis hacholim kol kach misparshos kelim she'enim meruchutzim. It's not healthy. So he says, well, according to the Ravid, that the issue is preparing. You're not preparing. Remember we said, according to the most Rishonim, the reason the issue of the dishes is hachana. This isn't hachana. You're doing it for right now. But he says, and even according to the Das Rambam, it's tikkun. Gam kein tikkun ze eino aser kol she'ein bal tzorach chol. Even according to the Rambam, it's not really a tikkun for afterwards. You're just removing a problem right now. And therefore he thinks it's mutter. As long as it's not for a weekday, it's mutter, even if it's not for Shabbos. But I would say it is for Shabbos. It's for a different need. It's not to use food for Shabbos, but still, you're doing it for tzorech oso yom. And this heter, the Tzitz Eliezer, is agreed upon by Rav Avadia as well. So again, what we get from this, the yesod of the Tzitz Eliezer, is that whenever the washing of the dishes or cleaning is for a need right now, it's allowed. So let's say we mentioned shalashudis, you can't do anything. But let's say I have sometimes in camp, right? Let's say I would tell the waiters that if everybody leaves after shalashudis and goes to, end Shabbos somewhere else, you have to leave it, and you have to come back after Shabbos. But what if it's raining outside and the kids are going to sit and sing right there? So to have their tables disgusting with the empty cereal bowls and the spills, right now there's a need to clean up. So I say if it's raining and they want to stay in here and they need the tables, clean up right then. But if they're going out, there's no need. So then it's not for Shabbos, it's for after Shabbos. So again, I want us to know every time what's called for after and what's called for a present need. And what sometimes we have, we'll see. We'll wait that sometimes something. Could you say that clearing the table is not even preparing? It's just what you do after a meal. Washing dishes is part of the process of having a meal. There is room to say that. There's room to say that you want to clean up, let's say in the kitchen, in the kitchen, there's stuff in the kitchen, there's dirty dishes in the kitchen. Sometimes you want to clean because you want, it's not preparing, it's just what you do at the end of the meal, but also you want a nice clean kitchen on Shabbos. So yesh makam lahakal also there. If your kavana isn't, I need to save time Motzi Shabbos because I'm running out. But my kavana is, I like to walk into Shabbos afternoon, after everybody rests, before you go to the Shiur in the afternoon. You want to come into a clean kitchen. I don't want to have piled up. For now, it takes away my oneg Shabbos. Not for afterwards. That also would be okay. That also will be okay as long as it's a tzorach for right now. So that is the first issue relating to washing dishes. What about making beds? The next topic back in the Gemara already. The Gemara, the Mishnah in Shabbos in the 15th parak, source number 48. The Mishnah says, Matzina samidos l'Shabbos l'Shabbos. You can make your bed. You can make your bed Friday night for Shabbos morning. Or let's say you're going into the bed, but any type of setting up. But once I got up Shabbos morning, I can't make the bed for Motzi Shabbos. If I'm making the bed in order to use it for Motzi Shabbos, I'm not allowed to make the bed in that case. Says the Magen Avram, maybe in those days there was a different Metzius, says the Magen Avram. But nowadays, you make the bed when you get up from the bed often. You make that because that's the way it is. That's the way it's neat for now. You're not preparing for next time. You're doing it right now, says the Magen Avram, mutter. You want to have a clean, neat room. Make your bed before you leave. Make your bed because you're preparing? No, it's the opposite. When you want to get into bed, you're not making your bed. So the Magen Avram says there, Archaim Shin Beis, Sifav, Ein Metzina Mitos B'Shabbos L'Motzi Shabbos. If you're preparing for something for Motzi Shabbos, it's not allowed. But V'nira Li, Demita Ha'omedes B'Cheder, Shedarsham, a bed that's in the room where you live. V'ika Bizayon V'Davar Meguna. It's not neat. It's messy. Sheyamod Kach on Shabbos. And you want to have it neat on Shabbos, mutter latzio. You're allowed to be metzia. You're allowed to spread it till it's tzarach Shabbosu. Because it's tzarach Shabbos. It's not for afterwards. He goes to Sefer Beersheva that mashma is aser v'linir k'moshe kasafti, and therefore he allows it. He allows it as long as it's for either for later on Shabbos or for a Shabbos need. Right now, you want it to be neat. And by the way, the Mishnah Magen Avram adds, have your beds made before Shabbos. Right? Everything is done before Shabbos. Right? We said the Malachim, right, accompany us home, the Gemara in Shabbos, and if they see the table set and the bed's made, the language of the Gemara, mita mutzas, they see everything neat. So then, in that case, that would be a bracha that they give. If not. So everything should be done before Shabbos. Remember reading that Rav Pinkus, up until the last minute before Shabbos, he used to be in the kitchen washing the dishes. You don't have any dishes in the sink before Shabbos. Often we're like, the kitchen's clean, the sink is full. Okay. There's a kiyum not to have anything in the sink when Shabbos, the queen is coming. The Shabbos queen. When you have, let's say you're making a Sheva brachas in your house, and everybody's going to come into your house for the Sheva brachas. You don't want them to see a sink full of dishes. You're going to hide it. You're going to clean it. You're going to do everything because you want it to be, becoming when you invite up. So Shabbos is coming into the house. And that's why it could be a need right now. The Ksos HaShulchan notes again a difference in terms of beds. In earlier times, beds were not always made, so making it on Shabbos is something unique and different, and maybe that's why it's a problem. But today they're made every day, and therefore there shouldn't be an issue. Says the Ksos HaShulchan, source number 50. The pillows and the blankets. Munachim tamid alamita, they're always on the bed. And after you sleep, you set it. Uparson michsa alayim pshita demutalasos kin. There's no problem with doing this. This is a classic example of you have to know the mitzias of what was going on in the Gemara and what's now. Making the beds. Beds was a different thing in those days. It's even in Hilchos Nida, the Gemara says that a woman or a man shouldn't do something with the beds during the time of the month, Shas Nida, because that's something that is very beloved and not appropriate for the time of Isser. But nowadays, making the bed, that's not anything. That's a chore. That's not a beloved action. So poskim say that things could be different today. So the Shulchan continues. Kivan shesider karm v'ksasos v'sason ina hachana l'motzi Shabbos klal. It's not hachana. Rak kenu derech ha'olam. Right. That's what you do when you get up from your bed. You make it. Halavai. We tell some of our children about this. But when you get up from your bed, you make the bed. That's not called preparing. That's just the end, like I said before, the end of the activity that you were doing. This comes up. We mentioned this maybe a little bit when we discussed schita, brushing one's teeth on Shabbos. So there are issues with a toothbrush and there are issues with the toothpaste. So toothpaste is issues of mamachik. We're not getting into the whole sugya now, but the toothbrush. So one of the issue of toothbrush is schita, right? Because the bristles, it looks like schita. Is there schita b'sei or is there schita b'sei midir Abanon? Again, we spoke about the different poskim. Ramosha Feinstein is very machmir. Ramosha says you can't even put water on it because he's worried about schita. And Ramosha says after you use the toothbrush, you can't. Let's say you use the dry toothbrush you can't rinse it. Hachana. Most poskim disagree with Ramosha. Most of them say rinsing the toothbrush after you used it, that's because you're preparing for the next time you need to brush your teeth. Nobody is thinking about brushing their teeth the next time when they rinse it after using it. Then what are they doing? They're cleaning it because it's disgusting right now not to clean it. Because this is what you do this is part of the brushing the teeth process. You brush your teeth and you rinse it and then you put the toothbrush back. That is not preparing. That's why post consume. That's sometimes you have to look at an activity as the end of a larger process, not the beginning of the next process. That's exactly what the Ksos HaShulchan says here. Making your bed, that's not making it for the next time you're going to use it. That's the end of sleeping in your bed. You make your bed. And that has kulas elsewhere as well. Just the end of a process. It comes out just thinking now, let's say sometimes a person's invited out to a simcha in a different shul. And they go down in their Shabbos morning. You have to leave your talis there, right? You have to leave your talis there because, I'm preparing for the next time I need the talis. Preparing? No, what you do is after you use your talis, you put it back. You put it under the stroller, you bring it back to shul, you put your talis back where it's supposed to be. Right? That's not preparing for the next. That's just the end of what you do. So therefore, that's also in terms of achana, there is that kula. You have to define exactly the activity that you're doing. Also discussed in the Gemara is the Mishnah is folding clothes. We spoke about washing dishes. We spoke about making beds, folding clothes on Shabbos. So again, example of the Metzius in the Gemara might have been different than what it is now. The Mishnah tells us on Shabbos, source number 51. You have it there on page 281. You could fold clothes on Shabbos. You could fold your clothes on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, 4 limitations. It's only allowed if one person by himself could fold clothes. 2 people. What if you have a big tablecloth that requires folding? 2 people? No, that's usher. Why is that usher? Let's see. Even if it's only one person, only new. Not old. What's new? Old. In those days, there were certain creases, and the creases of new ones. That would really be, if it's new, then you're not really fixing because the creases are really there. If you have an old beged and you fold it exactly on the creases, the Gemara says that's kind of like a fixing. And also, if you do it with 2 people, that's even more perfect. And new ones are only bilavanim, right? Only white ones are mutter low because it makes a bigger difference with the creases by colored. And this is only mutter if you have nothing else to wear. All these limitations about folding. Again, what exactly is the issue here? Not clear. Like when we fold something, what are we fixing? But the 4th limitation, the first 3 are like a type of a tikkun, but the 4th one is about if you don't have any other choice. That sounds like a hachana issue. The last line. If you have nothing else to wear, then you can do it. But if you have something else to wear, you can't fold. Rashi says because that's that's preparing. That's preparing. You're folding in order to wear the next time. So this Gemara seems to be in our rubric of issue of preparation. Says the Ravya, one of the Chachmei Ashkenaz, that all of these limitations only apply if one is folding the clothes exactly on the original creases. But if you're not so exact, you take off your pants on a Friday night and you just hang it over the chair. You don't have to throw it in a ball. But even if you hang it over the chair, as long as you don't hang it on the exact same creases, perfection, it's okay. Even according to the more Machmer Shita. V'animili b'sei the kipulo harishon, avol shalo k'sei the kipulo harishon er the mutter, afilu b'shnei b'nei adam. And that, the background and the Ravya are both quoted in Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch in Shin Beis. Many of these halachas are in Shin Beis. The kablan kelim b'Shabbos tzorach Shabbos, when it's allowed to fold with tzorach Shabbos, the lafshan bo bayom, to wear it that day. V'dafka b'adam echad, and lavanim, and lahachlif, all of those. If you're missing any of the conditions, asur. V'yesh misha omer, the lakapel tzorach shalok kesei the kibula rishon mutter. Some say as long as you don't fold it on the exact same creases, it's mutter v'nirin dvarav, and I agree with that, says the Shulchan Aruch. So again, based on these halachas, what about folding a talis? After you use a talis, Tosfos says, don't fold your talis on Shabbos. Wow. Tosfos says, Kuf Yud Gimel, Shabbos 55. Mikalamanu da aser lekabel taliso shal beis hakneses lefi shem tzarach machar. Why are you folding it? You don't need it. If you're going to use your talis for mincha, you're the balkorei, fine. But if you're not going to use the talis until tomorrow or even next week, it's a Shabbos talis, how could you fold? So Tosfos says, don't. Say how the Rishonim, the Kolbo, and others say the minhag is to fold the talis. Why is it to fold the talis? So I might say, because folding the talis is not preparing for next week. It's what you do after you use the talis. What you do is fold the talis. That's finishing of the wearing of the talis. The Kolbo says it could be that our talisim are different. We're not really fixing. Says the Kolbo, also one of the Rishonim. Efshar to kipul didon lo dami lekipul shalahan. Our folding is not like their folding. Shohayu kapedin ma'od lefashi kamatav. They were very, very makbid with the creases. Ulanicho tach zamachbeis. They would put it under a very heavy kli to keep the creases. V'lokin anu nachnu osem. We're not. We don't have that. So interesting. The Shulchan Aruch and most achronim don't quote the kula of the kolbo, right? And Mishnah Berurah says one should be machmir. The Mishnah Berurah says that one shouldn't fold it on the exact same creases as was. So do you have to leave it in a ball crumpled up? Some people don't like that. They think it's a design of the talis. So fold it not on the creases. Just fold it up softly, and then after Shabbos, fold it exactly as one would want. But the Aruch HaShulchan, Ben Zion Abishol, the Rav Zion quote the Kolbo, Meir Adin, and Rav Melamed here in the Pnei Halacha says this, our talisim are very hard to get it on the exact same lines always. So l'chara, it's lakula. Yish letzayin ki b'foal ataliso she'anu konim meguhatzos. They're ironed, but ofan shekash lekaplan b'diyuk yikuyus rishon. It's not hard to get exactly the what we're doing, and therefore lachein mutter la'adam lekapel kedarko taliso achar tefila. It's hard. It's allowed of a person to fold his talis right after davening. Shekein hu eino choser ala kafalim hamuguhatzim shabbat taliso. He's allowed to do it. There is a minhag, some quote the Maharil. The Maharil has an idea of not folding one's talis till after Shabbos. Right after Shabbos, there's a school of Shalom Bayis is quoted. School of Shalom Bayis to fold your talis right after. If you look in the Berachaim bencher, he says, "Oh, what's the skula? Folding a talis." It says fold and bend and bend. Shalom Bayis, everybody's got to bend. If you bend over and you fold in front of the other, so that's the school of Shalom Bayis, not just folding the talis. Other hachanas for the week, the Shmir Shabbos discusses any achana, any type of achana, unless it's tzorach mitzvah. Right? We say in Zmiros, right? Tzorach mitzvah, I'm allowed to talk about from now till after Shabbos. And the Mishnayos talk about going to the edge of the tchum. But the Shmir Shabbos says on a regular basis, aser lahachin kol davar mishabbos o miyantav l'chol. It's aser. Hachana pirusha. What does it mean? I'm on page 284 in the Shmir Shabbos. Kol davar sh'adam oseh. Anything I don't need for today, that is hachana. Even it's a little bit of tircha, any little thing. If I have in mind I'm doing it for after Shabbos, I can't do it. If that's my kavanah, again, most of the time, as we said, you could have other kavanas. It's the finishing of what you're doing, and you don't want it dirty right now. But if it's mamish for the next day, then there's no measure of quantity. Afilu imhu nigmar b'amira greda, even if it's just saying something. If he says, like we said before, you could clear the table if you want it right now. You don't want the bugs now. But anything, if it's the mamish, you're about to go to Meir, right? Sometimes the men go to Meir and the women start cleaning up. Why are they cleaning up? Because they're getting ready for Havdalah. If it's not Shabbos isn't over yet, that you have to wait. You have to wait. Unless they want to sit at the table and sing and have a clean table, then that's for right now. But he says, "Asur lahasir is klei suda biragoim achronim shalash Shabbos. Shekvar eno tzorach lechadem esudar. You don't need it. Or afilu be'emsa yom. If you're going to leave, so one has to be very careful and makbid and to know what the kavanas are. Right? It's not a game. If somebody's having kavanas for right now, then it's okay. If it's kavanas for afterwards, then it would be a problem. All right, Rav Moshe says, what about last point? What about putting things, stacking the dishwasher? Classic. We stack the dishwasher on Shabbos. Allowed to stack the dishwasher. So again, Rav Moshe says, what's your kavana? If your kavana is, I want to have it ready to be able to turn on the dishwasher right after Shabbos, that's a problem. But if I'm doing it because I'd rather have it not seen on Shabbos, I'd rather have it piled up neatly so that my kitchen could look a little neater and cleaner, then that's okay. Then that's what Moshe says. Mutter ve'im b'zeh mishum hachana shebishvil hayom tov le'inshi habayso shlo yisrael b'bayis b'makam shabon l'sham kelim uchlachem. You don't want to see a whole big pile in the sink. V'tov yosel anicha shem yilchasosam. Right, better to put him in there. What, to put a towel over it? No. But avalasadram bekavana. But if you're doing it mitzad achana mamish, then that would be a problem. So issues of achana come up often all the time.